The great chamber of the Galactic Council was silent. Walls made of glowing blue crystal hummed quietly as delegates from hundreds of alien worlds sat in their high seats. The air felt heavy, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. In the center of the room, a single question waited for a final answer. Invasion of planet designation 401 Earth. Approve or reject? The vote had been discussed for months. Earth, a small planet on the outer edge of the galaxy, had recently begun making noise. Their signals had grown louder, their weapons stronger. Their spirit? Unsettling. Most council members didn't see Earth as a threat. In fact, they laughed at the humans. Weak, emotional creatures. Divided by borders, by beliefs, by languages. How could such a species ever challenge the great powers of the galaxy? And yet, there was something about them. Something that made the oldest species feel uneasy. A fire, perhaps. A hunger. Still, the Council believed they must act now, before humans became too bold. One by one, the alien leaders pressed their vote crystals blue for approve. The first vote came from the Vanak Empire. Their leader, Grand Commander Troz, didn't hesitate. Approve, he said coldly. Earth must not be allowed to grow. The next vote came from the Shalari Hive. Their queen, a creature maid, of light and wings, nodded once. Approve, she whispered, before they swarm beyond control. One after another, the votes came in. Blue lights filled the room. Only one chair remained empty. The chair marked for Earth's representative, but no human sat there. The Council had never officially invited Earth to the table. They were not seen as equals, only subjects, future servants, resources. When the final vote was cast, the room turned. Dark. A voice echoed from the central system. Invasion of Earth approved. Some delegates clapped, some whispered, some smiled. But far away, on the other side of the galaxy, something changed. Earth had been watching. Earth had heard the vote. And Earth would remember. The first invasion fleet was small. Just scouts, fast ships. Their goal was to study, not to fight. They were told humans would be surprised, maybe scared. Easy to capture, easy to control. The fleet entered the Sol system in silence. No greetings. No warnings, but they never made it back. The Council waited for days, then weeks. Nothing came from the scout fleet. No signals. No data. Just silence. A second fleet was sent. Bigger, stronger. This time, they were armed. Just in case. They arrived in orbit above Earth. At first. It looked just like the files. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds. A quiet, peaceful world. But something was wrong. As soon as the ships reached orbit, alarms started. Strange hacking signals attacked their systems. Earth technology, simple but aggressive, broke through their defenses. Then the human ships rose from the planet. Old models. Nothing advanced, but fast, sharp, full of fire. The aliens fired first. Earth responded with fury. One of the alien ships sent a final message before being destroyed. We came to observe. They answered with war. We underestimated them. The signal ended in static. Inside the council chambers, panic began to grow. They couldn't understand how Earth had resisted. How had humans detected the fleets? How had they fought back with such force? The council ordered silence. No more news about Earth was to be shared publicly. They told the people it was just a communication delay. But rumors began to spread. Whispers in the dark halls spoke of human madness, of soldiers who fought like they had nothing to lose, of machines that never gave up, of a planet that refused to kneel. In secret, the council held another meeting. More serious, more quiet. The Varnak commander slammed his fist on the table. They are savages. We must crush them now, before they infect the galaxy. Others nodded. Some hesitated. A scientist from the Jurok species stood up. She had been studying humans for years. We made a mistake, she said slowly. They don't think like us. They don't fight like us. They adapt, they learn, they grow. No one wanted to listen. Pride is a heavy chain, and the council was full of pride. A third invasion was planned. Not scouts, not observers, a full assault. A fleet of thousands. But even as they prepared, Earth was already moving. Hidden satellites watched the stars. Old radio dishes scanned every signal. Humans had known the council was watching them for years. They had listened. They had learned. And when the vote happened, they were ready. In bunkers under mountains, in labs hidden in deserts, in space stations lost in the dark, humans had built their defense. And something more, they had built a reason to fight, not for power, but for revenge. Back in the council chamber, the final orders were being typed. Coordinates locked, weapons charged, fleets assembled. But as the councilors left their high chairs, a single file was uploaded to the chamber's central screen. No one knew where it came from. It wasn't in their system. No one could trace it. It was a video. Grainy, Earth-made. A human stood in the center, face covered, voice calm. You voted, the voice said. Without asking, without warning. You thought we would bow. You thought we would break. The human leaned forward. You were wrong. The screen went black. Silence heavier than before filled the chamber. Then the alarms began. Earth had sent a message, not just of words, but of war. The council had voted for invasion, but what they had truly chosen was extinction. And they had no idea what was coming. The stars over Earth went quiet again. After the first two alien fleets disappeared, the council believed Earth had gotten lucky. Maybe humans had a powerful weapon, or maybe it was just a trap the aliens walked into by mistake. The council didn't want to admit it, but fear was growing. Fear turned into silence. Silence turned into lies. They told their people the fleets were delayed, that Earth was being handled, but behind closed doors, they prepared a third fleet, 10 times larger, heavier ships, more firepower, thousands of soldiers, and an order. No more warnings, no more mercy. They called it Operation Final Sky. This new fleet began its journey toward Earth. Quiet engines, stealth technology, no open transmissions. The council wanted a clean, fast operation. Smash Earth, take control, and finally erase the shame of failure. But something happened. Just 12 days into the mission, the lead command ship received a signal. It was weak, broken, static filled most of it. But there was something in the background. A scream, not just a scream of pain. A scream filled with terror. The kind that makes your blood turn cold. Then a voice. Alien, but shaking. They single quotes re. They're inside the ship. More static. Then another voice, much closer to the com. They're not human. Then silence. The command ship froze. They didn't know where the signal came from. The frequency was old, low-tech, human style. But it wasn't from Earth. It was coming from deep space behind them. They turned their scanners around. That's when they saw it. One of the scout ships. From the second fleet. Floating. No power. Damaged. Cold. A rescue team was sent. Small, fast. Trained for unknown environments. They entered the ship through a side breach. The lights were off. Walls were burned. Bodies of alien crew were twisted, broken. Some looked like they had been torn apart with bare hands. Some looked like they had clawed at the walls, trying to escape something. In the engine room, they found one survivor, barely alive. The alien soldier was strapped to the wall with his own belts. His eyes were open, wide, unblinking. He didn't speak, didn't move. One of the medics whispered, "Is he dead?" Then the soldier suddenly turned his head. "They don't sleep," he said softly. "What?" the medic asked. "They don't sleep," he repeated louder. "They wait, in the dark. We thought they would run." But they smiled. They were smiling while they burned. The medic stepped back. Who? The humans? The soldier's face twisted in fear. No, not humans. Not anymore. They took him back to the command ship. He refused food, refused treatment. He just kept repeating strange things. They are rage-wearing skin. They don't care if they die, as long as they take us with them. And one sentence that was written in every report that followed. We woke up something ancient, something they keep buried. And now, it's free. The council received the reports. They ignored them. Battle shock, they said. Madness. They refused to believe a small planet like Earth could turn their best fleets into floating tombs. They sent more ships, but the humans had changed their strategy. They were no longer defending. They were hunting. One of the new ships, Mectril 94, reported a sudden flash near Neptune. They thought it was a comet. Then it moved toward them fast. Before they could react, the flash hit their ship. It wasn't a weapon. It was a boarding pod. Human-made, sharp, ugly, crude. But it worked. Human soldiers poured out, wearing suits of metal and wires. They had no fancy shields, no advanced tech, but they were fast, violent, precise. The aliens shot back, but the humans didn't stop, even when injured, even when burning. One soldier was caught in an energy blast. His arm was gone. He didn't scream. He grabbed the nearest alien with his other hand and pulled the pin from a grenade. He smiled. The alien crew didn't even have time to run. That was the first time the Council fleet lost an entire cruiser to just 8 human soldiers. After that, Earth began sending strange signals. Old music, whispered words, messages from long-dead wars. One message was heard across 3 systems at once. You wanted a fight. You got one. The Council began to split. Some leaders wanted peace. We made a mistake, they said. Let us fix it. Others refused. If we stop now, we look weak. They will spread. Arguments turned into shouts. Shouts into threats. And then one Council world was attacked not by humans, but by another alien race. Inspired by Earth's defiance, smaller species began to rise up. Some helped the humans. Some just wanted freedom. The Council order was crumbling. Back in the rescue station, the survivor from the Second Fleet finally died. But not before writing something on the wall in his own blood dot. It was in a human language. The medics had to translate it. You called them animals. You forgot animals bite. The Third Fleet was only halfway to Earth when it was ambushed. Human. Ships had hidden behind ice moons, using shadows and silence. They didn't fight for glory. They fought like ghosts. No commanders, no retreat. No rules. Only revenge. One alien captain tried to surrender. He opened all coms, dropped shields, sent a peace signal. The human ship paused. And responded, no. The signal ended. So did the ship. Council was no longer facing an army. They were facing a storm, and it was getting closer. The Third Fleet was gone. Not defeated, not captured, just gone. No escape pods, no signals, no survivors. It was as if Earth had swallowed them whole. The Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. Many had gone pale. Others trembled in fear. They had spent centuries ruling the galaxy with cold control. But now, that control was cracking. Some tried to calm the others. Earth is still just one planet, they said. One species. We still outnumber them, outgun them. But the truth was already spreading. across distant star systems, across colonies, even inside the Council itself. Earth had survived 3 fleets, and Earth was still fighting. The Council had no choice now. They gathered their largest armada. A war fleet so massive, it took up half the sky of their nearest moon. Over 3,000 ships, carriers, destroyers, war drones, special species-trained commandos, machines built to crack planets. This was no longer an invasion. This was extermination. They called it the final purge. And this time, the message was clear. End them. The fleet entered Earth's solar system with full force. The stars behind them dimmed. Even the planets seemed to watch in silence. In the Council War Room, cameras showed Earth growing larger. Still blue, still green, still quiet. Some commanders wondered, had Earth finally given up? No human ships were seen in orbit. No satellites. No defense platforms. It was too quiet, too clean. That's when the Council's top strategist, Admiral Kreth, made a mistake. He said one sentence. They've run out of fight. Then the sky opened. From behind Earth's moon came a wave of ships, human ships. Not massive, not elegant, but fast, aggressive, sharp. Every ship was patched with armor from alien wrecks. Human ships were wearing the bones of the fleets they had destroyed, and they moved like no other ships. They didn't wait for orders. They didn't hold formation. They scattered, surrounded, charged. Each ship fought like it had its own brain and its own grudge. The first Council carrier exploded. Within seconds, human missiles punched through its shields. Not because they were more powerful, because they were smarter. They used broken alien tech, modified, corrupted, and sent back as poison. Inside one alien ship, a commander shouted, "They're using our own systems against us." Another officer replied, "They've studied us. They know our blind spots. They know our thinking." A pause. And another voice said, "They are not soldiers. They are weapons." In orbit, the war turned into chaos. Council ships moved in slow formations. Human ships started like wolves. They didn't attack the strong points. They attacked the nerves. Engines, sensors, oxygen lines. They crippled, then burned. One alien squad sent troops down to the surface. They thought maybe humans would be weaker on the ground. They were wrong. In the ruins of old cities, in forests and deserts and underground tunnels, human fighters waited. Some wore old uniforms. Others wore no armor at all, just fury in their eyes. They didn't fight for orders. They fought for fallen families, for burned towns, for silence that should never have come. One alien squad found a ruined city and moved in carefully. No signs of life. Then they heard a child's laughter. They turned and saw a small human girl standing, alone in the street, crying, reaching out. The commander stepped forward. "It's a trap." Someone shouted, but it was too late. From every rooftop, every building, human snipers opened fire. Explosives lit the sky. The ground shook as hidden tanks rolled from underground shelters. The alien squad was wiped out in minutes. In orbit, the war continued. The Council's greatest ship, the High Lord's Spear, was surrounded. Dozens of smaller human craft danced around it, cutting into its armor. Inside, Admiral Kreth ordered a retreat, but the navigation system was frozen. The ship's AI spoke in a flat voice. "System override." Human signal detected. "What?" Kreth screamed. And a human voice came from the speakers. "Your war ends now." The ship exploded before Kreth could respond. Back in the Council chamber, the remaining leaders watched the destruction on their screens. One by one, their icons went dark. Fleet after fleet vanished into fire. One leader whispered, "We don't understand. Why are they like this?" A silent voice answered from the back of the chamber, an old alien scholar, one who had studied Earth before the invasion, stepped forward. "You asked why they're like this?" He said, "Because you gave them no choice. You called them weak. You treated them like animals." He looked around the room. But when animals are trapped, they bite. The council tried to shut down the feeds, tried to control the news. It was too late. All across the galaxy, other species saw what humans had done, not with giant ships, not with better tech. With fury, with will, with pain turned into power, a power that burned. On Earth, the skies were no longer filled with enemy ships, only ashes. And silence. But it wasn't peace, because Earth wasn't done. Not yet. The war had changed, not just for Earth, but for the galaxy. The Council's war fleet was gone. Their most powerful ships destroyed. Their pride crushed. Earth had survived again. And now, Earth was not hiding anymore. The humans were striking back, but this time, they were not sending armies. They were sending a message. Captured alien ships were returned to their homeworlds, empty, burned. Inside each ship, there was a single word written in every language: remember. The Council sat in fear, not because of what they had seen, but because of what they didn't understand. Humans were not acting like any other species. They did not fight like soldiers. They did not retreat when losing. They didn't even seem to follow a leader. And, worst of all, they were learning too fast. Not in a secret research base deep in space. The Council had brought in several captured humans. The base was known as Facility Red Echo, built to study enemies, to break them, to make them afraid. But the humans inside were different. They did not scream. They did not cry. They did not beg. They just waited. One male, a tall soldier with burns on half his face, was put through 100 different scans. They tried to read his brain, his emotions, his memories, but they only got noise. Then the human smiled. The alien doctor asked, "Why are you smiling?" The human replied, "Because you think you're in control." Later that day, the lab exploded. No alarms, no signals, just flames and silence. When the smoke cleared, all the human prisoners were gone. The security footage showed them working together, silent, fast, as if they had planned it all along. They hadn't even used weapons. Just pieces of metal, wires, sharp tools, whatever they could find. The Council couldn't understand it. How did these primitive creatures outsmart them again? Back in the main council chamber, arguments broke out. Some leaders shouted for total war. Wipe out the planet. Use planet killers. Burn the Earth to dust. Others warned, no. The more we attack, the stronger they get. Every fleet we send just teaches them how to kill faster. The Council AI presented a report. It showed something shocking. Human response patterns increased 17% in efficiency after every conflict. Adaptation time, unmatched. Strategic logic, unstable. Predictability, near zero. The computer paused. Conclusion: humans are not logical. The room fell silent. That was the truth. Every other species in the galaxy followed patterns, rules, logic. They followed systems. They fought to survive. But not humans. Humans fought for emotion, for ideas, for revenge, for pride, for each other. That made them impossible to predict, and impossible to stop. In a far-off colony world, the Council scientists met in secret. They had one goal: find a weakness, study the human mind, break it. They captured a young human woman, a pilot from one of Earth's rebel fleets. She had a broken leg, a bleeding arm, and a smile on her face. They asked her questions. She said nothing. They used pain. She stayed silent. They showed her videos of Earth being bombed. Her eyes turned red. But still she said nothing. One alien leaned close and asked, "Why don't you fear us?" She looked up, her voice calm. "Because fear is a cage, and you're the ones locked inside it." The next day, the base lost power. By the time the guards restored it, the woman was gone. Only one message was left, burned into the wall. "The cage is cracking." The council tried everything. They called for backup from old allies. Some refused to help. Others had already begun talks with Earth. Some alien worlds were even cheering for the humans now. "You showed the council their true face," one rebel planet broadcasted. "You made them bleed." The galaxy was changing. And Earth was leading the storm. But the council still had one plan left. A last option. They called it the Thought Protocol. It was an ancient technology, banned long ago. A weapon not of fire or bombs, but of the mind. It could erase thoughts, rewrite memories, even control behavior. The council believed that if humans couldn't be broken physically, maybe they could be broken mentally. A secret ship was built, quiet, hidden, aimed at Earth. Its job: broadcast the protocol across the planet, turn the humans into calm, obedient, silent beings, just like every other race. But they had made one mistake. They assumed humans had never seen mind control before. They had in their own history. They had fought it, fought tyrants, fought control, fought brainwashing, and they had learned to resist it. When the protocol ship reached Earth and began its broadcast, something strange happened. It failed. Within minutes. The ship was hacked. The signal was reversed. Instead of humans being controlled, the crew of the ship began hearing whispers. Human voices. Soft at first, then louder. They screamed. They clawed at their heads. Some ran into the airlocks. Others shot each other. Before self-destructing, the ship sent one final log. The protocol has been turned. They control us now. We are prisoners of our own logic. The council never spoke of the ship again, but they all saw what was happening. Humans were not just fighting the war. They were becoming the war. No more rules. No more mercy. No more logic. Only fire, only fury, only Earth. Far away from Earth, orbiting a peaceful red gas giant, floated the 9th moon of Jul. It was a council colony. Quiet, wealthy, known for its universities, temples, and gardens. No armies, no bunkers. Just peace. The people who lived there believed the war with Earth was distant a problem for soldiers and politicians. The war wouldn't touch them. They were wrong. On the night the sky fell, the stars above the 9th moon flickered strangely. At first, no one noticed. Then came the sound, a deep, low hum that vibrated in people's bones. Lights dimmed. Screens turned black. Then a scream echoed from the orbital space tower. Security forces rushed to investigate. They found the top floor completely empty. No blood, no bodies, just a small human symbol burned into the wall. "We see you." Within minutes, every satellite went dark. By the time council reinforcements arrived, it was already too late. The 9th moon was silent. And burning. The council called it a terror attack. But it wasn't terror. It was a message. A message written in fire and smoke. Earth could reach them. Anywhere. Anytime. At the council chamber, panic spread like disease. How? Did they even get there? Someone shouted, "The 9th moon is 6 systems away. They have no warp gates." "They don't need warp gates anymore," a whisper replied. That whisper belonged to Counselor Drenva, an old strategist. He had studied every report from Zul. Earth. Every battle. Every pattern. Now he stood in front of the High Council, eyes dark. "You don't understand humans," he said. "You never did." The chamber went silent. "They don't attack targets we think are important. They hit symbols. Places that make us feel safe. Places we love. He looked around the room, and then they burned them to the ground. Some counselors demanded the use of planet burners, weapons that could destroy Earth in one shot. But others objected. What if they hit more moons, more colonies? We can't burn the whole galaxy just to stop them. While they argued, Earth kept moving. Their soldiers weren't wearing uniforms anymore. They dressed like the locals. They moved in silence. They had no flags, no borders, no base. Only purpose. In the shadows of trade routes, in the corners of black market stations, whispers grew. Earth is not hiding. Earth is hunting. One alien merchant told a story of how a council warship docked for fuel. Everything seemed normal. But when it took off, the ship exploded mid-flight. A note was found in the wreckage. Collateral is acceptable. Another alien world, Verona 6, held a public execution of captured humans, broadcasted love across the council networks. They wanted to make an example. But just as the first human was about to be killed, the execution platform exploded. A human drone had slipped past every defense and detonated from inside the cameras. Nobody knew how it got there. All they found was a hacked console that replayed a short message. We don't die for free. Fear spread faster than fire. Aliens began whispering in corridors, trading human gear on the black market, telling tales of Earth's new soldiers fighters who used captured council tech, who knew council languages, who spoke like shadows and struck like lightning. Back on the 9th moon, a single survivor was found. A child, hiding in an old observatory. The child couldn't speak for hours. Finally, when asked what happened, she said, "They didn't come to destroy everything. Only the ones who wore the symbol." What symbol? The medic asked. The child picked up a broken piece of wall. On it was the council's crest. Earth hadn't attacked the moon randomly. They chose it because it was safe. And because it trusted the council. No more. Now, even the safest place was not safe. The council ordered every important world to be locked down. No ships in or out. No travel without inspection. No communication without permission. They called it security. The people called it fear. And still, the humans came. A station near the edge of council space reported an unknown ship entering its orbit. It didn't match any alien design. The guards prepared for combat. But when the ship opened, no one stepped out. Instead, a small container was ejected. Inside was a single data chip. The council viewed the file with caution. It was a video low quality, shaky, made on an old human camera. A man stood in front of the lens, middle-aged, dirty face, missing one eye. He looked straight ahead and spoke. "You voted to kill us," he said. "You didn't ask. You didn't wait. You just sent fire." He paused. "So now we send fire back." The camera zoomed out. Behind him stood rows of human fighters. Some were children, some old, all armed. He lifted a council flag, then dropped it into a flame. "We are not your subjects. We are not your cattle. We are the storm." The feed ended. The council tried to spin it as propaganda, but the truth was in the ashes of the 9th moon. The truth was in the growing number of uprisings, and the truth was written in the faces of every council member as they realized Earth was not playing by the rules, and Earth was no longer reacting. They were choosing when to strike, choosing where to strike, and choosing who would be next. The fall of the 9th moon was not the end. It was only the beginning. The council had fought many wars over thousands of years. They had crushed rebellions, silenced uprisings, broken empires, but they had never fought anything like Earth. The usual tactics no longer worked. Threats meant nothing. Bombs created more fighters. Propaganda failed before it began. And worst of all, The humans refused to break, captured, beaten, tortured. Still, they would not kneel. Inside a dark, cold prison on the planet Coulter Prime. 5 human prisoners sat chained to a wall. They had been taken after the battle at the edge of the Valos Belt. Battle, the Council claimed as a victory, but the humans had let themselves be captured. That was now clear. The guards beat the humans, questioned them, starved them. Still, no answers came. A high-ranking interrogator, General Rethsal, walked into the chamber. He had broken many species before. He had techniques that made soldiers scream within minutes, but not these ones. Walked to the largest human, an old man with scars on his face. "You are already defeated," Rethsal hissed. "Why fight a losing war?" The man looked up. "You think we're fighting to win," he said. "That's your mistake." Rethsal frowned. "Then why?" The man smiled. "To make sure you lose too." The next morning, the prison's power grid shut down. By the time backup systems started, the humans were gone. Only the chains were left cut with a council officer's own plasma knife. The humans had escaped. Again, that same week. A strange pattern began appearing across the stars. Every time a council world celebrated a victory, something happened. A communication tower exploded. A fuel supply vanished. A general's ship disappeared during sleep shift. And in each case, the same message appeared on their networks. You don't win until we stop fighting. And we don't stop. The council had never faced this kind of war, not with lines and armies, but with fire and whispers. They gathered again, furious, confused, terrified. "What do they want?" one shouted. "What will make them stop?" No one had an answer. They had already offered peace, a treaty. Even silenced. Earth refused it all, because Earth hadn't forgotten. The Council had voted to invade Earth without warning. They had bombed cities, taken prisoners, killed civilians. And now, Earth was not interested in peace, only in justice. The Council began testing new psychological weapons, machines that injected false memories, dream burners that erased identity. They called it mental cleansing. They tested it on a captured human pilot. She was young, barely out of training. They thought she'd be easy to break. They showed her fake images, Earth in flames, her family dead, her planet surrendering. She watched quietly. After 1 hour, she looked at her captors and said, "You should have made the lie more painful." Then she bit off her own tongue and spat blood in their faces. She survived and escaped 4 days later. The guards who watched her were found alive, but shaking. They refused to speak. One kept repeating the same sentence. "They aren't afraid of losing. They're afraid of not fighting." Elsewhere in the galaxy, strange signs appeared. On the icy moon of Kelviar 3, Council patrols found human footprints. In the snow, but no ship. On a desert outpost in Rilo Sector, someone hacked into the planetary feed and replaced it with a single video. A human child holding a council flag, then handing it to a soldier who burned it. A whisper came with it. "We raise our young for war now." That terrified many, because humans weren't getting weaker. They were getting faster, smarter, and younger. Every failed mission, every fallen fighter, just created more. The Council began hearing rumors of schools on Earth where children trained. In shadow fighting, in code breaking, in tracking alien movements. Of scientists creating weapons from scrap, machines from junk, ships from crashed enemy parts. They weren't just surviving, they were evolving. One council world, Ortnex 5, refused to believe it. They thought the stories were myths, human lies. Then one night, without warning, a human stealth pod landed in their capital. Just one man came out, one soldier. He walked into the center square and set off a beacon, not a bomb, a message. He said, Nothing. He just played the audio of the original council note, the one where Earth's invasion was approved. Then he spoke 3 words. "We didn't forget," and vanished. The beacon burned for 6 days. No one touched it. The council realized something else then. This war wasn't about borders. It wasn't about territory. It was about memory. Humans remembered. They remembered the vote. They remembered the first fleet. They remembered the screams from the sky. And now they were making sure the council remembered too. Every time a leader slept, they wondered, will I wake up tomorrow? Or will I see Earth in the sky? One counselor broke down. On live stream, we thought they were weak, but they are the strongest species I've seen. Not because of their weapons, but because they don't stop. They just don't stop. The video spread. Even to Earth. A soldier watching it laughed. They finally figured it out. He said. His comrade nodded. Took them long enough. And they returned to work. Building, training, planning. Because Earth had one rule now. Never again. They had been seen as animals. Now they were a storm. A storm that had no flag. No borders. No brakes. And the galaxy was learning what happens when you push a species that doesn't break. The council thought they still had time. Time to rebuild fleets. Time to prepare counter attacks. Time to understand Earth's madness. They were wrong. Because Earth was done waiting. The first warning came when the outer colonies of the councils. Core ring lost communication. 12 planets. Gone dark in the same hour. No explosions. No survivors. No clues. Then, at the edge of the Andoran system, a mining station picked up something strange. Heat. Not a ship. Not a fleet. A wall of heat moving through space like a wave. Then came the light. Orange. Red. Blinding. And with it, fire. Actual fire. In space. Impossible. But real. The council scrambled to understand. Their top minds said it wasn't just a weapon. It was an atmosphere tier. Earth's engineers had built something new. Something no other race had ever imagined. A way to set the sky on fire. They didn't use missiles. They used stars. In the center of the chaos, human ships arrived. Not massive, not many, but fast and sharp. They flew through the flame, untouched. They had adapted. Again. Council worlds went into lockdown. Earth is coming. People whispered in alleys, in bunkers, in dreams. Back at the council capital, the sky was clear. Too clear. The leaders met one last time in the Grand Tower. They planned one. Final escape route, a wormhole only the highest members knew about. If Earth reached them, they would run. Start over. They never got the chance. Just before sunrise, the capital sky turned red. Not slowly. All at once, like a sheet of blood being pulled over the stars. Warning siren cried across the towers. People ran to the windows. They saw it. Hundreds of small black ships falling like spears. No warnings. No demands. Only fire. The sky cracked. And Earth had arrived. The city defenses activated lasers, domes, interceptors. But they were too late. Ships dove through, breaking the clouds with sonic booms that split buildings. The Grand Tower shook. One counselor dropped to their knees. We burned their world, they whispered. Now they burn ours. The humans didn't aim for military targets. They hit the power plants. The food, storage. The oxygen centers. They didn't want to conquer. They wanted the council to feel helpless. To feel what Earth had felt. In the eastern quarter of the capital, a child watched the sky burn from behind a broken wall. His mother held him tight. A human soldier passed by, his armor black, his face cold. He paused, looked at the child, and walked away. They hadn't come to kill children. They had come to kill power. Council forces tried to fight back. One general gave a speech from a command post. "We are not afraid of Earth," he shouted. "We still hold the core systems. We will." Then the screen cut not to static to a live feed from inside his bunker. A single human was there, standing. Behind him, the general didn't even turn around before the video ended in silence. On Earth, the people watched the skies to not in fear, but in silence. They didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate, because this wasn't revenge anymore. It was a lesson and a warning. The Council had asked for war. Earth had delivered extinction. Still, some Council members tried to escape. They rushed toward the hidden wormhole gates, but when they got there, they found the gates already destroyed. No escape, no second chances, only consequences. Back in the ruins of the capital, human soldiers moved. Without words. They weren't looting. They weren't burning for fun. They were finishing what the Council started. One human squad reached the heart of the Council database. A massive room of information, history, secrets, memories of every world the Council had ruled, broken, and silenced. They didn't destroy it. They uploaded it to the stars. Every crime, every lie, every cover-up. They made it public so no one could ever forget as the city burned behind them. One human commander stood at the tallest tower and opened channel not encrypted, not secret, a message to the galaxy. This is Earth. You thought we were weak. You thought we would beg. You were wrong. We came with open hands. You answered with fire. We offered peace. You gave us graves, so we burned the skies. The message ended. Across the stars, people watched in silence. Some were afraid, but others cheered. On rebel planets, the fires of uprising exploded. On Council colonies, soldiers dropped their weapons because everyone understood now. Earth wasn't. The enemy. Earth was the answer. When power turns cruel, when peace is broken, when silence is forced, you burn the sky to make it loud again. The smoke had cleared. The fires faded. The Council's capital was a shadow, a quiet place filled with broken towers and silence. The war was over, but peace had not returned, because Earth had not come for peace. They had come for justice. And now, the galaxy would learn what justice looked like when it wore human skin. In the deep remains of the Grand Tower, only one counselor was still alive. He sat alone, wounded, hiding behind rubble. He whispered to himself, shaking. We ruled for 1,000 years. A voice spoke behind him. You ruled by fear. The counselor turned. A human stood there. No armor, no weapon drawn, just watching. Why? The counselor asked, his voice weak. Why didn't you accept our surrender? The human stepped forward. Because this wasn't a war. It was your answer to our hello. The counselor wept. We were afraid of you, of what you might become. And now you've become it. The human leaned in. No, you made us become it. That was the truth the galaxy had ignored. Earth hadn't come looking for war. They had come in peace, with gifts, with hope. They had sent signals. Diplomats. Science. Songs. And the Council had responded with invasion, flames and screams. Earth did not choose war. The Council had chosen Earth's fury. In the months that followed, Earth didn't take over. They didn't raise flags or claim planets. They simply erased the Council. One by one, the old systems collapsed. The prisons were opened. The rebel colonies were freed. People began to speak. Again. Real truth spread not through fear, but through stories. The galaxy remembered something it had forgotten. Freedom. And Earth became its symbol. Not a perfect one, not a peaceful one, but a promise, warning. A voice in the dark saying, we are here, and we remember. Back on Earth, the cities had changed. No longer just rebuilding, but growing, stronger, sharper, Wiser children were taught two things: how to dream, and how to fight when dreams are attacked. Old warriors walked through gardens of steel and light, remembering those who didn't come back, not as heroes, but as reminders that fury was not their nature, but they carried it when the stars gave them no choice. The last message Earth ever sent to the stars came quietly, not no fire, not no threat, just a whisper, recorded in a small beacon floating near the ruins of the old council seat. We were kind. You chose to strike. You thought we would bow. Now your silence is the monument to your mistake. We are not your enemies, but we will never be your prey again. And with that, the beacon shut down. No more messages. No more warnings. Only silence. Not of fear, but of power. A quiet that said, try again and see what comes. And so, the galaxy moved forward. It remembered Earth, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as the answer to violence. A reminder written in fire, forged in broken soil, and carried by a species that refused to break. Earth had been underestimated. Once. Never again.